An absolutely stunning evening here in Palm Desert, California. It's cooled down, absolutely beautiful. I want to thank my good friend Matt for stopping by. We're going to grill a couple steaks here, hang out, and just talk about world events. And make sure you check out his channel, Ox Talks. I think it's really, really imperative that we support like-minded people, that we support channels that we believe in, and that people that are walking the walk and have the same mindset that we do. So I think it's really, really important to check it out. Ox Talks. Check it out. Matt, again, thank you for stopping by.
Thanks, JB.
A few things I want to talk about this evening is, you know, there's that old saying, God helps those who help themselves. And a lot of people just believe that because they say their prayers or they go to church that nothing bad's going to happen to them, or they believe in, you know, teddy bears and rainbows and puffy white clouds, everything's going to be okay because they just hope it's going to be okay. I believe God gave us all free will. He gave us a brain, and God's going to help those people who do help themselves. And I believe we're in a time right now where God is waking people up and telling you, you better start preparing. You better wake up. You better pay attention to what is going on. And so, you know, in my life and like yours, you know, we get out to the range, we train, we do jiu-jitsu, we hit the gym. You know, we're doing everything we can to just be a stronger, better person. But you've got to be strong physically. I think right now, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that this is probably one of the most important times in history that you want to be in the best physical shape you can be in, no matter what your age.
I agree. I mean, look, inaction will not get it done. It doesn't matter where, physically, with your business, you cannot sit on the sidelines. You have to take control. You have to get up every day early. You have to have a strict routine. You got to work out. You got to work hard at your business. You have to put in the hours. And I use this all the time. You have to show up. You have to be on time. You have to be responsible. And, you know, it's becoming more crucial every day that we follow that.
So it's super important to be in the best physical shape you can be in. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You may have to wake up and get out of your house. You don't know what is going to happen. We know that there's going to be fallout from what's happening in the Middle East, and people are always going to resort back to their training. And most people have no training whatsoever. They're in terrible physical shape. Many people are in terrible mental shape. And so people are going to be absolutely in a chaotic state of mind when things begin to unravel here, even financially. People, I think, are going to wake up one day and go, oh my gosh, my 401k is gone, my stocks have crashed, my bank is closed. You know, and the first thing they're going to do is, who do I blame? It's too late to play the blame game. Now you're going to have to deal with the mess, and all you have is your body and what you can hold. How much gold, silver, cash, assets, and how physically in shape you are to deal with a chaotic mess.
Well, look, the weak will perish. So you're either going to be a leader or you're going to be a follower. And you've got to make that choice now. It might be too late if you haven't already made that choice. Mm-hmm. And so you do not want to be in the camp that is going to go off the cliff with the rest of the sheep. You've got to take charge now. You better start doing your workouts. You better start taking charge of your life. You better start figuring out where your finances are, paying off your debt, paying off your high interest rate credit cards, figuring out, you know, your security. And those are all super important now.
A lot of people, you know, make these videos and they go, you better get ready, you better get ready, you better prepare, you better get ready. And it's like, okay, first off, we need to know what we're preparing for and what we're getting ready for. And then how do you prepare for that? I personally believe we're going to see a huge, massive depression here in America, financial depression, which is going to lead to a very large civil disruption taking place in America, which is going to ensue even more crime. The crime wave that we're seeing, the crisis that we're seeing in crime, what we're going to see is going to dwarf what we've been witnessing. And so you're going to have to figure out ways to deal with this mess. Financially, dealing with maybe banks going down, the devaluing of the US dollar, hyperinflation, quite possibly what we saw take place on Friday, where 900,000 accounts couldn't get paid. They couldn't do transactions. Another banking glitch. What if we saw a global glitch or a US banking glitch take place and you could not access money? You could not function with a piece of plastic. You couldn't go to the grocery store and buy something with plastic. You couldn't go to the ATM and get cash. The only thing that is going to matter at this point is what you have access to. And if your own personal central bank, you're going to be able to access cash. You'll access gold, silver, which is extremely liquid. It could be converted into cash. But these are things we all have to be thinking about. What are we preparing for? We're preparing for economic collapse. We're preparing for a social collapse. We're preparing for the unknown. And you can't just prepare for that just financially. You better be preparing physically. You better be in the best shape of your life. You better be out training. You better be able to protect yourself, your family, because there's going to be a lot of bad people that are extremely hungry.
Well, look, the question about Friday was that a dry run? You know, I mean, are they throwing out little tidbits to see how the public will react? And the point is, if you had all your money in one bank, or all your employees were dependent on the payroll from one source, you know, I mean, you know, how can you address it? Do you have some cash set aside? Do you have the ability to function for the weekend if all of a sudden you can't get money out of your ATM? That little plastic card doesn't work anymore. What are you going to do? I would venture to say that most people don't have that solved. Apple Pay is not going to work. You know, it's tied to your bank account. So, you know, figure it out now before we have a much wider spread situation like we saw Friday.
And what if it lasts more than a weekend? What if it lasts a week or 2 weeks? What if it's purposely done to crush and collapse the economy and the entire financial banking system? And maybe this is where we begin to see new money come from. Maybe this is where we see the BRICS rise. Maybe this is where CBDCs come in. Maybe this is the whole plan. I don't know, but you gotta be watching this stuff. You gotta be following what is going on, because you have no idea what is happening from day to day, what we're going to wake up to. And if you're completely just one of these people watching football and going to Disneyland, you're going to be in a world of hurt when this happens.
Well, they always say the powers that be drop breadcrumbs, right? About what they choreograph ahead of time what they're going to do, so they can say, look, you know, you went through it before, you saw a taste of it, so how did you plan for it? So are you planning? Are you preparing? Are you looking at these things with your head on a swivel and making decisions to change your daily head in the sand routine? Hopefully you are.
Things are going to change, and they're going to change for the worse, unfortunately, and there's nothing anybody is going to be able to do about it. And that's why you've got to take responsibility for you to lighten the blow a little bit, to absorb some of the pain here. Nobody's going to be immune from the catastrophe we're heading into. There's too much debt. The deficits are exploding. You look at credit card debt breaking $1 trillion, student loan debt 1.7 trillion, auto loan debt around 1.6 trillion, household debt at all-time highs, credit card rates on average now are 24.08%. Retail cards are over 32%. And you have a savings rate now down to 3.4%. Anybody telling you that the economy is strong, that the consumer is strong, they are either brain dead or they are flat out lying to you. Matt, what condition do you think the economy is in right now?
Well, it's in my opinion, it's in terrible condition, and it's going to keep deteriorating for the rest of the year into next year. We've already seen statistics about layoffs happening now and the coming layoffs in the next year with companies. We know the shipping is crashing.
Maersk laying off 10,000. Terrible indicator.
We know unemployment is up, is going up from Friday's statistics. We know the consumers are broke. They have no money set aside. Their savings has been depleted. So, you know, other than the fantasy world stock market, which is going up on hopium, there's no good economic indicator that supports that we are heading in a positive direction in the coming year.
The Detroit Free Press, Ford to lay off 1,600 workers at Louisville assembly plant. So they just resolved the strike, and now Ford's going to lay off 1,600 workers. And I think we're going to see a lot of people in the auto sector laid off, and we're going to see more plants being built out of the U.S. and more cars assembled out of the U.S. And we're going to see more people in the auto industry out of jobs.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this, I think, last week maybe when we did a show together, that, you know, they're shooting themselves in the foot. The whole strike thing it was not productive, it was not compelling.
They added another $1,000+ to each automobile. That's just from the automakers.
Yeah.
Then the dealers are going to add to that too. So you're probably looking at about $1,500 added to a new automobile now because of the strike.
Yeah.
And who can afford now to finance a car? I went to the grocery store today. I got a small bag, and it cost me over $30, and the bag wasn't even full. And I cannot for the life of me, understand how people, especially that have a couple kids or 4 kids, how they're doing this. And I have to think that people are taking on so much debt right now between the rent or the mortgages, the credit cards, the student loan, the auto loans, the cell phone bills, health insurance, car insurance. I mean, does it boggle your mind how this thing is continuing to stay on the rails?
I did a show last week. My health insurance is going up, excuse me, as of January, almost 21%. So for me, it's an inconvenience. It puts me in a bad mood. But for a lot of people, that could be devastating, right? I mean, those are major moves, hundreds of dollars per month. And we know it's across the board in everything. We know the food's going up. We know the fuel's going up. We know insurance costs are going up. Homeowners insurance is skyrocketing. Mm-hmm. These are all things that point to more of a struggle for everybody.
And it's going to happen at the worst possible time. All of this is going to happen at the worst possible time because we're going to see massive amounts of layoffs. And now all those rate hikes are now going to take effect, and people are going to lose their jobs at the worst possible time, where things are the most expensive, where inflation is still rising. You cannot even believe any of the data now. The unemployment, where are we at? 3.8% unemployment. Anybody that believes that believes in the Easter Bunny.
I think it went to 3.9.
3.9, okay.
Yeah, so the unemployment rate is going up.
Okay.
More people are unemployed now.
So anybody that believes that number believes in the Easter Bunny. And how many people are working 2, 3, even 4 jobs now and barely making it? Anytime you get an Uber, talk to an Uber driver. Typically, they're a real estate agent, or they're somehow in the housing industry, and they're working real estate, they're working Uber, and they're bartending. And I mean, it's unbelievable what people are having to do just to barely get by now. Nobody's saving money. They're just barely paying the bills. And think about if somebody misses a paycheck, 2 paychecks, 3 paychecks. A lot of people are facing homelessness. That's where we're at now in America. This is how bad and how dangerous it's getting. And people will criticize us because we talk about working out, we talk about getting out training, we talk about jujitsu. Somebody said, I think the other day on your channel, like, oh, you guys are playing in the sandbox because we're out at the range.
And they were criticizing your holster.
Okay, so criticizing my holster, we're playing in the sandbox. I guarantee you, when this thing gets out of control, that person that said that is going to be knocking at somebody's door to protect him,
right? To
give him money,
right?
To give him a meal
and food, right? The food.
Okay, but please keep me safe. The street gangs are all over the place, and I'm homeless, and they've taken everything from me. These are the same people that can sit here and look. I'm a big boy. Matt's a big boy. We can, I think it's kind of funny at times. I think it's sad actually, because the people that waste that amount of time to criticize and judge, and you all understand what I'm saying, because you have friends or family members or relatives who will judge you and criticize you. Many of them not doing that anymore now, because they're finding out that you were very, very right. Now they're the ones very, very worried. But the people who continue to judge and criticize, I wish they would take that time and be more constructive in their personal life and get out and lose 50 pounds. Get out and train and not be a victim, not be a target. Get off the couch, get healthier. I want you to live to be 100, and I want you to be in good health. But if you're going to sit there all day and criticize other people and criticize your relatives because they believe that things are going to get bad, and they've saved some money and they've bought some gold and they're putting food away and they're training, and you may have, and that person thinks you're nuts. That person now is beginning to figure out that they were completely wrong and you were right. And they will be the people knocking at your door for help, for a meal, for protection, Matt.
Look, and those people can't be saved anymore. If they're that clueless at this point in time, bye-bye. You're going to be the first one to go.
Right.
You know what? I was telling you earlier about, I have a group chat of guys I've known for a lot of years, and a couple of them are big stock market guys, and a couple of the guys left the chat last week because I was talking more about economy, the show, where things are headed, and the word I got was that they didn't want to hear about the stock market not being a good place to be. They didn't want to hear about the economy being bad. They didn't want to hear about maybe considering buying some gold and silver and buying some food and prepping for a downturn. And so they left their group chat. And I thought to myself, these are the people, and some of these guys I call longtime friends, but they don't want to accept reality. They want to have their head in the sand, like most people do, and they'll sit and criticize from a perspective of weakness, having no food, no water, no security,
right.
no financial, not having $1,000 in the bank if a unforeseen event arises, nothing planned out, no way to take care of your family, protect your family. But they don't want to hear about, they don't want me to tell them from my perspective about, hey, maybe you should exercise some caution. Maybe step back. Maybe don't put all those, money back in the stock market and see what's unfolding here. So
they took their toys and left the sandbox.
They took their toys and left the sandbox. They left. A couple of them left their group chat. And again, we can't save everybody.
I just think at this time and point where we're at, you cannot be one-dimensional. You've got to be multidimensional, financially, spiritually, physically. You got to be covering all bases. In this article right here that I was reading over the weekend, armed thieves snatched $29,000 in Rolex watches and gold chain from New York City pedestrians. So people just walking around enjoying the nice fall weather in New York, and apparently people haven't learned their lesson. You wear nice jewelry now in certain areas like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, you're going to be a victim. And so these people learned a very valuable lesson here. But again, this isn't just financial. We're watching really the moral decay and a crime crisis taking place on the streets of America where, if they're willing to take your watch or your gold chain, what are people going to do? What are they willing to do? What are they capable of doing when they haven't eaten for 3 days? And Bill Holter talks about, the 3-day mark. People will go absolutely crazy once they have not eaten in 3 days. So you're not going to have to worry about your watch or your gold chain or anything, because they're coming to your house because they may think you have food. And so if people are this vicious and this cruel right now just to take somebody's watch or gold chain or just to rob them of their shoes or a wallet, think of what they're capable of doing when they're hungry, when they're starving.
Right. Nothing bad has really even happened yet, right?
Things are stable.
Yeah, things are stable. So,
and just to close, we watched the market just go on a rip and tear last week. Dow Jones up well over 1,000 points last week, all based on hope, all based on absolutely nothing other than that maybe the Fed is done raising, and maybe at some point the Fed is going to reverse course. You want to just touch really quick before we close the video on last week?
Yeah, look, and I'm not an anti-market guy. There will be a time, I think, like anything else, to swoop in if you're prepared and you've been planning and putting aside some money to buy these assets when they're a lot cheaper than they are now. So I'm not an anti-market guy. I don't think you are either. Look, we're opportunists.
We just don't like to buy things overpriced.
Well, we're opportunists. Yeah. So and the people that are prepared financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually are going to be able to take advantage of the opportunities. But yeah, last week was, it was a circus act to watch it unfold because it's all based upon the fact that the markets believe that, based upon the bad job numbers, the unemployment rising, that the Fed's going to reverse course and they're going to start lowering rates. That's what it's all about. I saw nothing else that would have juiced the markets.
And the 10-year bond yield down about 40 basis points in a week. What do you?
Who's buying the debt? Who's buying up
We know
this
who's
debt?
buying the debt. It's the Fed buying the debt. And the question is, and we'll close out with this, the question is to all of you, what happens when the Fed no longer buys the debt? And that day is coming. Yeah. What do you think mortgage rates and interest rates are going to go to? What do you think bond yields are going to go to when there is no buyer of this debt? Nobody wants it. That's how bad it is. That's how stinking bad the debt is. That's how sour the debt is. Nobody wants it, and the Fed is forced to buy it. And remember, the Fed still has over $8 trillion on its balance sheet. So,
well, guess what do you think the value of the dollar is going to go when that day arrives?
You better have gold, you better have some silver, and you better have security, because it's going to be a very, very chaotic time. Be safe, ladies and gentlemen. Matt, thanks for stopping by. We'll grab a little grub here. Other than that, it's just a crazy, crazy time. I've never seen anything like this. I don't think most people have ever seen anything like this. And the scary thing is, this is just the beginning. Imagine how crazy things are about to get. Protect yourselves mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good evening. God bless. Stay safe.
Be safe.